Hey guys, King of Charmander is here, and today I will be your judge, your jury, and your analyst. Today I feature to you one of the most powerful, or in my opinion, the most powerful budget team for Ultra Premier Cup. I've seen many of my friends have a lot of success with this team. If you manage energy well, if you manage shields well, if you have a whole lot of confidence, then this team shall not take you as much Stardust as it took for the I'm trying to figure out the lords or the evil supervillains from the Lord of the Rings franchise, LOTR. It's a legendary franchise. The Twin Towers is one of my favorite movies, and yes, I'm nerding out right now because it is cheaper than the Fires of Mordor that was used to forge the legendary ring that, you know, if you do know, the little hobbit went up, and then threw said ring into the fire, and then it was no more. The end. Anyways, that's a good summary of the franchise. As you see here, we have Charizard, Swampert, and Venusaur. Charizard will be your lead, Swampert will be your safe switch, and Venusaur will be your closer. I'll be showing you multiple different scenarios. Losing a lead, winning a lead, specific Pokemon to play against, and basically a rundown of how to play Charizard as the lead. PvPoke.com shows you 0 and 1 shield scenarios. The only way to see a true 2 shield scenario is to run a matrix. So I'm going to give you a 2 shield matrix to Charizard. Again, I'm going to show you pretty much everything I can possibly put into one video without making your heads hurt. So, without further ado, let's get started. As you see here, I already put the team builder together. Again, Charizard leads Swampert and Venusaur. You can use Overheat Charizard. You don't need a double Elite TM a Charizard. Dragon Breath is already Legacy. Dragon Breath, Wing Attack Zard can work. Fire Spin can work too. But the matchups you do are going to be completely different. So I'm going to describe that on the shoutcast if you're going to use Fire Spin. But heavily recommend you just use Dragon Breath or Wing Attack. Again, Swampert's your safe switch. Venusaur will be your closer. Now for the shoutcast, I'll be using a Shadow Swampert because I used it on accident. But honestly, there's not much of a difference between the Shadow and the regular one, especially for Ultra Premier, because everything just does so much damage. It's arguably worse to have a Shadow one just because that extra bulk really does come in handy. As you see here, it only has good coverage and bulk. It's great safety, but it's also amazingly consistent as far as damage goes, just because all of the community moves do so much damage. As you see here, against a lot of the meta, Charizard is incredibly powerful as a lead. You can either break shields with Blast Burn, you can straight up defeat your opponent, like if you have dragons on dragon action. Dragon Breath does defeat a lot of Dragon Breath users, going to go over that later, but Charizard is a really great lead. Swampert is not really a safe switch, but you know, a Hydro Cannon can do, or Earthquake can do big damage, and of course, Venusaur is one of the most powerful closers in Ultra Premier Cup. This team has a decently high threat score, as you see here, but as you see, your biggest weaknesses, Dragaggle, Talonflame, Gallade, etc. In the 2 shield scenario, you have a lot of play against them with Charizard. Or you could possibly break shields, 4 shields, or you're going to sacrifice Charizard. Again, I'm going to give you the entire rundown. But the basic way you're going to play Charizard in the lead is one of 2 things. 1, you're going to win the lead, or 2, you're going to sacrifice Charizard. You're only going to safe switch into Swampert in one scenario. Or one in pretty much when you lose the lead, but I'll show you that in the Battle Shoutcast. Oh yeah, as I always say, please consider donating to PvPoke.com. Now, this video was done at the request of a viewer of mine. They said they requested, they were using this team and had a lot of questions, and since I believe it's an incredibly good budget team, and I actually used it, and it made me go positive today, despite all the hell that is called XL in Ultra Premier Cup. I'm like, you know, I'll do the shoutcast and I'll do the analysis or the short breakdown. So this is Charizard in a 2 shield. Here's Dragon Breath. I got Wing Attack as well as Fire Spin. Again, you don't have to do double Legacy. The most important thing is Charizard's fast move. You can use Overheat. So for Blast Burn, we could replace it with Overheat. Overheat can be used in place. But keep in mind, like, it just really, like, Wing Attack, it's like, in my opinion, like, yeah, like, you can use it, but it'll be a little more difficult to break shields with Charizard if you plan on sacrificing him. Otherwise, you're just going to straight Dragon Claw, which is perfectly fine. Again, I have all 3 versions of Charizard. I had the Fire Spin version on the last one. And I'll explain to you how to play out of really bad leads with Fire Spin. So Fire Spin only really gives you a huge advantage against one simple archetype. It's either going to be Abomasnow, or it's going to be Tangrowth. So basically, Grass leads. Grass leads are Steel types, with the exception of The one you're going to always switch out of, which is probably going to be Empoleon, as you see here. Other than that, as you see, there is a big difference between you using Dragon Breath or Wing Attack or Fire Spin. With Dragon Breath has a wide range of coverage. You'll beat Charizard in the mirror, but most Charizards you see out there are actually going to be running Dragon Breath. So a lot of things you'll encounter will be Dragon Breath Charizards. Because yeah, you'll be encountering a lot of Dragon Breath Charizards. The interesting thing is about Dragon Breath Charizard is that you actually have a chance against Clefable in the 2-shield, as you see here. Against Clefable, it's going to be a little rough, but with Clefable, what's going to happen is that you have to overheat through shields. 9 times out of 10, your opponent probably won't shield your Dragon Claws. They'll probably, if they recognize that you're using Dragon Breath, just try to break both shields or try to literally just overheat through shields. So try to just nuke their Charmer. Sometimes they'll shield, sometimes they won't, but it's really like nuking it would be preferred if you can't. So it's just really going to be a bait game when it comes to seeing a Charmer lead when it comes to Charizard, no matter which version you're using. So, other than that, versus the Charmer, against Dragon Breath, Dragon-type users, this is why Wing Attack and Dragon Breath is so valuable. With Dragon Breath Charizard, you win convincingly against Dragonite and Kingdra, the 2 big Dragon Breath users in this meta, as you see here. You'll beat Dragonite with either Wing Attack or Dragon Breath. This is where Fire Spin is kind of risky. The reason why Fire Spin Zard is good is because, like I said, it does good against the Steel types as well as the Bug types and the Grass types. So basically, anything that gets lit on fire, anything that you light on fire, hopefully not your forest in your living area. I'm in California, so we have a lot of wildfires. Please, nothing like that. But as you see here, with Fire Spin, you do have to switch out to Swampert, and it makes that matchup really rough against the Dragons. And especially if you get locked Kingdra into Charizard, it's going to be very rough. So definitely recommend you either consider using Dragon Breath or Wing Attack, for sure. With Fire Spin, though, like I mentioned, you're going to fry Excavalier, but you could still beat Excavalier with Wing Attack or Dragon Breath. That's how good Charizard is. You can also beat Ferrothorn, of course, with Ferrothorn, just because you have the ability to Blast Burn or Overheat. Again, like, you're going to have to be a little fancy on the matchup, especially if you're using Overheat, but you basically just fry the poor little Ferrothorn to death, either in the closer when it has no shields, or you're able to fire through shields. Dragon Breath can also be Gyarados. You can also, which is in the 2-shield. This is a very risky matchup. So, you're going to go straight Dragon Claw, which is what's pretty amazing about it. You're going to double shield, but if your opponent elects to, they probably won't shield. But you do take the matchup against Gyarados in the 2-shield. That's what makes Charizard so powerful. Then that's why you don't actually switch out of Gyarados, which is freaking hilarious. Because I faced a few Gyaradoses. You don't switch out of Gyarados. So again, against most Dragon Breath users, you're probably not going to switch out with Charizard just because you beat them with Dragon Breath. So, unless it's a Waterfall Gyarados, then you're in trouble. But if it's a Dragon Breath one, like every person should be using, you're perfectly fine. If you lose the lead, obviously you're going to stay switching into Swampert. But as you see here, or you could refer to this chart, you beat a lot of things in the 2-shield. So, you even beat... Dragon Breath Zard is also very powerful because you beat Pidgeot in the 2-shield as well. Pidgeot can straight Feather Dance you, but it doesn't really matter because Charizard does does a ton of damage with either Overheat or you could Blast Burn through shields. Either one's up to you. Charizard also has the ability, because of the flying typing, to resist ground type users and to resist both Charmers and Fighters. So it's like poison in a sense because you do resist Charmers as well as Fighters. Again, you have to get a little fancy when it comes to blast burning. When you are overheating, you're going to have to either burn through shields, etc., or you're going to have to just try to take the match. Or you're going to have to burn through shields, break shields, and sack Charizard altogether, or you're just going to do the best you can in that matchup. Against Umbreon, Umbreon's a little rough too, because with Umbreon, you have to be able to blast burn it, or you have to overheat it to death. So, the thing about Umbreon's a little rough for this team, because technically Umbreon can beat all 3 of these Pokemon. However, when it comes to Umbreon, you can blast burn it, and if you blast burn through shields, you could straight Dragon Claw. And Umbreon is super thick, but I will show you how to beat Umbreon. You're basically just going to beat the unholy crud out of it. You're going to do it like Stewie. Stewie, if you do not know, is from Family Guy. And if you're old enough to watch said show, Stewie will take your money, or he will ask for his money. And he will take your dog, which is called Brian. Brian owed Stewie money. Stewie beat the unholy heck out of Brian because he owed him money. End of story. Anyways, this is just be very careful against Umbreon. But again, you can come back to this chart to refer to it. You can go by slowly, etc. But again, you're only going to really switch out of one particular matchup. Other than that, I will show you what happens with the rest of it. So, without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so I'm actually going to use a PV Poke Training Sim. I'll be shoutcasting that. It's going to be the Empoleon, Kingdra, and Dragonite team. The only mon you're really going to switch out of is Empoleon. Other than that, you're going to have to play Risk or sacrifice Charizard in the lead. As you see, I switch immediately into Swampert. Now, what I'm going to do is straight Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon will still trunk Dragonite. You're basically just going to sacrifice Swampert, break as many shields as you can, save shields with Venusaur in the back or with Charizard, and hope you can come out with a W. The reason why I did a PV Poke battle is because it's really annoying because I couldn't get a single Empoleon lead during my battles today, so all I did was do this just so that I didn't have to worry about because you know GBL's blind, so you know you can get practically anything. So as you see, when you do get Empoleon lead or anything with like Waterfall, or if it's like a Crustle with like Smackdown, say switch into Swampert immediately and try to break as many shields as you humanly can. As you see here, this Dragonite normally Dragonites won't shield because they're going to win the switch outright, but what you can do is Hydro Cannon does heavy damage. So if you do enough damage against Dragonite, what you're going to do is send in Charizard to basically farm it down. Opponent switches Empoleon, and then you're basically going to have Venusaur like run through or try to run through their entire team. Venusaur with Frenzy Plant is incredibly powerful, and if you manage energy well with good energy management, you can possibly sweep the entire back row. As you see here, I'm going to queue up. I'm trying to get as much energy as I possibly can while timing my fast moves perfectly so I don't let them get any waterfalls through. One Frenzy Plant won't kill an Empoleon, sadly. You're going to have to like farm it down. As you see here, one Frenzy Plant is not enough. I'm going to have to farm it down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just shield both of these moves right here just to leave Venusaur as healthy as possible, because Venusaur is going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting. A key component of this team is to have really good energy management. Make sure you know your counts. It's 6 to Frenzy Plant. It's 6 to Frenzy Plant, 40 energy. So just make sure you know your math. Just make sure you know your counts and make sure you're good at managing energy. Get as much energy as you possibly can. As you see, my opponent or the AI rather, will come in combo in with Dragonite, and then it will take my soul because this is likely a Hurricane. Hurricane will KO. I will lose all this energy, but what can happen here is that Charizard can farm down with Dragon Breath, as you see here, and all I'm going to do is just Dragon Claw the Kingdra in the back. Now, if it's in the yellow, Dragon Claw won't actually kill at this range. I'm going to have to Dragon Breath down a little bit, but it should be GG's. Again, if you lose the lead, especially against Empoleon, which is probably going to be seeing the most, you're basically going to just switch into Swampert right away, try to break as many shields as you can, and try to hope that you can sweep with Charizard and Venusaur in the back, hopefully with shields, etc. So again, say switch into Swampert, and then try to play out the match and see what you can do. Other than that, your two main strategies are going to be either to sacrifice Charizard, or to just outright win the lead. This is an example of winning the lead. As you see, you got Machamp into Charizard. You convincingly win this matchup, which is my opponent switches right away into their own Charizard. Remember what I said, that many opponents are actually using Charizards with Dragon Breath, and this one's shiny, so I'm mega jelly. And like I mentioned before, I'm using Shadow Swampert. I accidentally used my Shadow one instead of my regular one, just because of the way I have it named, but it's perfectly fine. As you see here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to straight Hydro Cannon. And like I mentioned before, you're going to try to break as many shields as possible and sweep with your back row. So this Charizard will shield, because actually, so the thing about Shadow versus regular one, the regular version won't quite one-shot Charizard at full HP. The Shadow one does, though. So there is a little minor difference, but generally you're still going to play it the same way here. If you had a regular Swampert, what you're going to do is you're just going to straight Hydro Cannon to death. Now, because I have good energy, because Swampert's OP, because it only takes 5, 4, 5 to get 3 Hydro Cannons, in total like 14 Mud Shots to get 3 Hydro Cannons. This one should go off. I should be able to take back switch. And then we got Talonflame and Venusaur versus whatever's in the back. So as you see here, again, good example of Venusaur and Machamp and whatever's in the back. But again, good example of just straight up winning the lead, straight up winning the RPS scenario. And now we get back the Machamp. Now Machamp is probably going to try to Rock Slide my Charizard to death, but I don't know what their back row is, and I'm banking that usually Venusaur has a strong matchup in the closer, so I'm going to keep Venusaur alive. As you see here, my opponent stays in with Machamp. I should be able to get this Dragon Claw off. However, I don't want to get Rock Slided, so I'm likely going to have to shield. Dragon Claw goes off, won't kill. You need a Blast Burn to kill Shadow Champ. This is likely a Rock Slide, so I will shield here. But I don't know what my opponent has in the back. My opponent's likely going to switch because I can Dragon Breath them down if I don't call this Rock Slide, and I do. And they switch into Pancake. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then catch. So as you see here, I caught a Rock Slide. I didn't want Charizard to eat a Rock Slide because it's double super effective in Charizard, and I died. So I caught it on Venusaur because I'm a boss, and I'm actually using my subconscious here. So I'm not. I was like, I didn't even consciously do this. So I was like, what I did here was really freaking cool. You know, it's like it's like Jujutsu Kaisen when you know yeah, it's like Jujutsu Kaisen. I forgot who the main character. Anyways, I got what you call it? Is it Shoji or something like that? Anyways, as you see here, this Earthquake won't kill me. So this is gonna be an Earthquake. Earthquake doesn't kill you in the green. I should be able to get to a Frenzy Plant, and that should KO. And then, as you see here, I just finished this Pancake. This Frenzy Plant should go off, and then I should be able to KO this Pancake. And then we got the Swamp, and then we got Machamp in the back, the near dead one. I'll KO my Venusaur here, but I should get to a Dragon Claw, and then that should be GG's. Again, super sweaty match. It was very, very powerful. It was a very, well, super sweaty match. I just wanted to catch to make sure I could live. So I didn't want to, figure out. Oh yeah, Yuji. So, you know, it's like out of nowhere, like Yuji, you got like, you know, you got mad energy, etc. I think I lost my train of thought. Anyways, as you see here, again, you're going to have expert energy management. That catch won me the match. And now for the second display, I have Charizard versus Galvantula. This is an example of sacrificing Charizard. So in this instant, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lose alignment, but I will take both of my opponent's shields. As you see here, I'm trying to build up to a Blast Burn and just time it right so they don't get an extra Volt Switch through, and they still get it through anyways. I'm going to Dragon Claw through. Hopefully I can grab a shield, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to grab both shields in this scenario. So we're just going to grab both shields in this scenario. They're going to get a move off, sadly. I have to shield it because I want both shields gone. Unless something happens and I'm unable to do so. So I call the lunge, which was really, actually, I call the lunge here because of the timing, and I call it wrong. Ideally, you should shield and then take both shields, but this is perfectly fine because I still have shield advantage. And you can do that play where you call the lunge, but 9 times out of 10, I'd probably just shield and then come out with your opponent having 0 shields. As you see, my opponent's going to lunge. It's going to do big damage. Galvantula XL is mighty, and the Itsy Bitsy Spider came up the water sprout, but this one's actually an electric spider, so I don't think that rhyme actually references to, like, fits in this battle. I will have to shield one lunge, though. One lunge will KO my Swampert, and then I'm going to get a ton of energy. A ton of energy. This is what I mean. You're going to have really confident energy management to do really well with this team. So as you see here, Hydro Cannon will go off. This should KO. And then my opponent sends in... I'm waiting for it, but again, energy management is key here. I have as much energy as I could get or I felt comfortable with without having that Galvantula get another move. And it's an Empoleon. So here's the thing. I'm thinking they sent an Empoleon because they think I'm not going to Earthquake, but this is a magnitude 420 Earthquake. Earthquake will go through the shields, and then I'm going to send in my Venusaur. And then we get a Machamp in the back. As long as I manage my energy well, this should be GG's. As you see here, I'm getting as much energy as I can. I want to try to stack 2 Frenzy Plants, because I will need to Frenzy Plant this Machamp to get the victory. So, again, a lot of energy management. And even though, like, it's a -1 with that Earthquake, as you see, Earthquake still did a lot of damage. Frenzy Plant should go off. They're likely going to shield this because my opponent's subsequent Pokemon are already dead. And then all I have to do is just fire a second one. This should KO this Machamp. Machamp will go down. And then all I have to do is basically just make sure I Frenzy Plant or just farm down both of the back row. As you see here, Swampert, the Empoleon comes back in. My opponent just tops left because basically I'm just going to farm down their entire line. And that's GG's. So that's a good example of sacrificing the lead, breaking your opponent's shields, and then just trying to make something happen with your back row using expert energy management. Energy management with this team is key. With good energy management, you can pull off wins like I did right there, really close ones. Just make sure you try to get as much energy as you confidently can, and then try to just pull off the W and be really risky. Number 3 is Dragons. So for match number... Actually, this is match number 4. Match number 4 is Dragons. So when you have Dragons... As you see here, I'm going to switch into Swampert right away, but again, if you get a Dragon matchup, your opponent's likely going to switch once they recognize you have Dragon Breath, just because Dragon Breath Charizard convincingly beats Dragonite, Dragon Breath Gyarados, also Dragon Breath Kingdra. So that's why my opponent switched out. Now, my opponent's probably thinking I'm going to bait with Hydro Cannon, and for some reason, my game is lagging. And then, yes, so the funny thing is if you didn't guess, Magnitude 69 Earthquakes are mighty. I'm using a really pissed off Swampert, and then my Swampert will move the Earth to KO this mud. Yeah, this was a really ballsy play. I'm like, but I kind of figured they're not going to shield anyways, because they're like, oh, he's probably going to try to bait. He's almost dead. Try to get more shields, but nah. Now, thanks to that play, I should be able to get this Hydro Cannon off, and Shadow Hydro Cannon, or even regular Hydro Cannon, will do a decent chunk of damage because that is a Shadow Dragonite. This will go off, it'll go through all the shield, and as you see, that did a lot of damage. Whoo! I'm not sure why it did that animation of throwing in, because I didn't select my thing yet, but you know, Go Battle League isn't working right now, and it's really broke. It's like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's bending over and waiting for its chiropractor or something like that. And then I get a Talonflame in the back. So this is actually terrible, and you probably know why, because we got Venusaur on our team. So, but the good thing is we have a near-dead Dragonite, and we have a Venusaur, and then we just have a Talonflame XL to deal with. So as you see here, Charizard, what I'm going to do is, against Talonflame XLs, you do convincingly beat them in the lead. Just make sure you be very careful, because you don't want to get Brave Bird. One Brave Bird will KO Charizard. As you see, I expertly call Flame Charge here, because my opponent wants to break my last shield. I know that. So that's why I didn't shield in this scenario. Unfortunately, this Incinerate did go through, and this kind of sucks. So I'm just going to go straight Dragon Claw. So my win con here is to basically, it's basically going to be Sludge Bomb, like farm down the Dragonite, and then Sludge Bomb this Talonflame with the back, or I could even Frenzy Planet, because it should be in kill range. I can expect my opponent to switch pretty soon, just because my Charizard is low at HP, and then Dragonite should end my life. Or I'm gonna get to this Dragon Claw KO. Well, I don't think this is gonna KO. So I don't think necessarily. Yeah, it doesn't KO in the green or in the yellow. My opponent switches out to Dragonite, takes out my Charizard, and then here's my Venusaur. So my opponent's never gonna get to Hurricane. It takes a while for any Dragonite to get to Hurricane. So as long as it's near dead or you feel like it's not there, 9 times out of 10 it probably won't be at a Hurricane. So Dragon Claw, what I'm going to do is I'm going to farm down here completely, and then what should happen is that I should be able to, I'm just going to nuke the back row, and that's GG's. Again, if you get a Dragon lead and they switch out, make sure you're fast on the draw, but switch into Swampert or Venusaur accordingly. Preferably Swampert if you got a good matchup, because most of the time, like you saw here, Venusaur can carry its own weight in the closer. So most of the time, like, use your best, basically what I'm saying, just use your best judgment. But this is the Dragon pattern. The next match, on match number 5, I think I get, is this, no, I think this is the Charmer or either Umbreon. Either way, like I said, with expert energy management, you could do well. Right now, I've showed you how to lose the lead. I've showed you sacrificing the lead. I've also showed you winning against the lead outright and winning against Dragon types. This is the Charmer. So if you do see a Charmer, you do win in the 2 shield. However, you will need to Blast Burn or overheat through shields. You can't convincingly win the 2 shield unless you bait both of their shields with Dragon Claw and then you burn them down. So basically, you could probably guess what happens here. You know what I mean? There was a lot of fires and Attack on Titan, but you know what? Not on this day. And this Dragon Breath, as you see here, Blast Burn does go through. And Overheat will kill this Togekiss, by the way, if that ever came through. But your goal is to literally get a Dragon Breath or, Blast Burn or Overheat through shields. I have to shield this Ancient Power, otherwise I'm going to get KO'd. My opponent switches into Machamp, so I'm going to switch into Venusaur, because Venusaur resists counters. So I don't have to shield here. I can tank a Rock Slide. I can take the Cross Chop if it is a Cross Chop. But again, try to switch fast into whatever your opponent gets to, just so that you can start racking up energy. In this case, I'm going to gather a whole bunch of energy just so I can throw this Frenzy Plant will kill if it goes through. Or if my opponent elects to shield, I got a decent chunk of energy and I still have a shield myself. Again, with Charmers, you're going to be a little fancy and you have to burn it. You're going to have to burn through shields. So burning through shields, or try to take both of their shields and try to play out the match. Venusaur does resist Charm as well as Fighters, so it's in your best interest to either get Venusaur on it, or what can happen with Charmers is all you're going to do is literally Hydro Cannon them to death. So you're just going to beat the unholy heck out of them with charge move damage. As you see here, my opponent's Machamp goes to town, hits the Cross Chop, I somehow don't die, and I should have undertapped. Basically, undertapping is I should have waited a half a second, because what happened there is I overtapped and I lost full charge move. But it's okay, we're still fine here, because all I'm going to do is shield this, and I still have a whole Swampert for their back row. So basically, I'm going to have to go to town with a Swampert. This Dragon Claw should KO, and then what I'm gonna do is I think I send in Swampert here, and basically Swampert is going to gather a ton of energy and have to basically carry all the weight in this world. And it's a Muck, which is great because guess what? All I have to do to KO this Muck is to literally get an Earthquake off. But I still have to KO that Togekiss. My opponent will get to a move here. So what I have to do here is I have to get to an Earthquake and I have to Hydro Cannon that Togekiss. So, as you see here, I'm going to go over a bunch of energy. My opponent tries to sack, which is another reason, which is why I'm going over energy here. My opponent, I didn't expect a sack. Well, at this moment of this game, I was expecting a sack. But I should be able to get the Hydro Cannon off because my opponent's using Poison now. I should get to an Earthquake. And then that's GG's. As you see here, with Expert Energy Management, you could do really, really well. I was able to identify my opponent's sack swap, Hydro Cannon down, and then Earthquake in the back for the W. So again, this team requires a lot of good energy management, but if you can do it well, you can pull off some really great plays. Like I said, against Charmers, try to break as many shields as you can and realign, or overheat or blast burn through shields. The final one I will show you is that a lot of you are asking questions about Umbreon because it is so godforsakenly thick. It has a really big booty. It goes to the gym 50 times a day, 51 to be exact if you have a best friend with you. See what I did there? As you see here, we lead Talonflame into Charizard. This isn't necessarily good for us because what can happen here is that we have the shield pressure on us. Because like I mentioned before, you do not want Charizard to take a Brave Bird. If it does and you get hit by a Suburban, you die. It's that simple. And that Suburban can be 200 grand or whatever it costs for their Stardust for this Talonflame. Either way, you will die. Usually I will shield the first move though because you could expect this to probably be a Brave Bird, and it is a Brave Bird, which is great. So I expect my opponent to switch out now. And as you see here, welcome to Umbreon land. So this is how you beat Umbreon. You have to literally beat the unholy heck out of it. So as you see here, Blast Burn will go off and it will do big damage, and it's still gonna be in the green because Umbreon's super, actually it's in the yellow just because of the Dragon Breath damage, but as you see here, it's super thick. It still lives with a decent chunk of HP. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to gather as much energy as humanely possible. I'm going to send in Venusaur this time around because Talonflame, that's why. Send in the opposite of whatever your opponent leads to get. My opponent sent in a Talonflame. What happens to my Venusaur if it goes against Talonflame? It dies. Lights on fire. It dies. Like crops when they go on fire or whenever they get spoiled. It can also eat a couple of foul plays like you see here. I'm going to overfarm a lot just because I want to have as much energy as I can because I know that Talonflame's coming back in. I have a strong match against Talonflame. However, Swampert's still going to have to pull some weight. I see my opponent elects a shield. I still have a shield of my own. This Frenzy Plant should go off, and I should... this, unfortunately, I don't think this kills this Umbreon, sadly. As you see here, Frenzy Plant will go off, and it actually, fortunately, it does kill the Umbreon. So, like I mentioned, you're just going to have to beat the unholy crap out of your opponent. I should be able to get to a Frenzy Plant because of all that extra energy I got. That's why I overfarmed. So, this should take the last shield. And then, I have a Swampert and a Charizard against Talonflame. I send in my Charizard just because I want them to get rid of their energy. Because someone's gonna die. Someone's gonna die. So, as you see here, I will shield this. Flame Charge does go through. I'm going to Dragon Breath down, and it happens to be a Grand Bull, which is actually pretty great. Not really, because Grand Bull has close combat. It's gonna suck a lot if One Punch Man its way through, or One Punch Lady its way through my shields. But as you see here, with no shields, you do a decent chunk of damage against a Grand Bull with Blast Burn. I won't be able to. I won't be able to get to the next Blast Burn. I wait a little bit here because I know this Grand Bull has energy. What I'm thinking is my opponent is vigorously tapping on their move. And probably, yeah, as you see here. So my opponent was vigorously tapping on their charge move because you're 1 HP in a Grand Bull, you're gonna die. I get the successful call on the Venusaur, as you see here. I've had to do this twice a day, so... And I got that one extra little bit of energy on Swampert. So, here's the thing. At full HP, one Brave Bird will not kill a Swampert. As you see here. So, I was able to live a Brave Bird. And then I got a Hydro Cannon off, and that's GG's. Regular Swampert will live a lot more, but again, in the green, you will live one Brave Bird. So, that's how you beat Umbreon. You beat the unholy crap out of it with a ton of charge moves, as you see here. And make sure you, with proper energy management, like you saw here, you can take the W. Even though they're using a really thick mon called Umbreon, and it's very, very bulky in Ultra Premier Cup. And that's GG's. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope I was I hope I was pretty thorough with my analysis. I put all the extra notes in the description just so you have just so that pretty much just summarizes of what I covered over here. And just to give you a little bit of an edge, remember, it does take a good energy management to come back with the W against a lot of like scenarios. As you see here, I was able to manage energy very well. So if you don't know your counts, I would do that first. Learn your counts with all 3 of these Pokemon. And remember, Dragon Breath or Wing Attack is what you want. You can use Fire Spin, but I heavily recommend you have Dragon Breath or Wing Attack. Those 2 will matter the most. This team is incredibly powerful. As you see here, it was able to take back against a lot of W's against a lot of different and very powerful teams of their own right. So hopefully this shoutcast and this data did help you out. And again, there's a lot of data on the description, so that if you need a reference, here I put the team building link on here and just a few notes again against certain matchups. You also have the chapters on here, so you could go back to losing the lead again. You can losing lead, winning leads, Charmers, Dragons, Umbreon, etc. Obviously, I didn't show you all scenarios right here, but this should give you a good idea of how to operate this team and how to use it really, really well. Remember, you need really good energy management. You need a lot of confidence, and you just need to battle. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you would like, I do this all the time. I didn't need to do this, but I appreciate all y'all, and one of you guys asked me if I could do a video on this budget team, and I really do think it is the most powerful budget team. And as you see here, in so many scenarios, you can pull off the W. And they only cost 10k dust each. So if you do appreciate it, yes, I will go through hell and high water to make sure my viewers are my audience and my community is prepared for Go Battle League. Because, you know, there's a lot of people that do the homework, but all they really do is give you the line, or they just give you a VOD. Here, I give you the breakdown of how you can win with this. Yeah, and it's not a gimmick either. It's just, well, it's cheap, okay? And you know what else is cheap? Subscribing. So, I do this all the time, but for all my subscribers, I do appreciate you. If you're already subbed to the channel, I really do appreciate it. I appreciate y'all. If you are not, you can sub very easily. By the time you are done listening to the sound of my voice, you can put your mouse on the bottom right, and as you see there's a little box that says subscribe. If you put your mouse over it, it'll easily pop up a tab where you can pop up the sub tab, and then you can click on it and you can easily subscribe. I'm trying to hit 2k subs. I'm almost there. I really do appreciate the support. I never imagined I would get here this fast. I really do appreciate you guys, and I really appreciate all the support. Again, almost 2k subs, so again, please consider subscribing. It's totally free, and it helps out the channel a lot. Good luck in Go Battle League sets. I do hope this guide really helps you out. Good luck in Go Battle League sets again, and I will see you guys on the next video. Charmander!